All right, wholeness and balanced vibration family. Going to take a moment here and adjust some levels. Allow ourselves to connect into the space, connect into our truest essence and truest state of being. It's with great urgency that I have this conversation today, but it has been something that I have been sitting with for at least 5 or 6 days now. And it's really taken me to another level of my consciousness. It's taken me to a level of maturity that I haven't seen in a long time, millions of years maybe. A stage of realizing that every single action that is being made is in fact not only a sign and symbol of what's going on externally, but what is happening inside. And that through these symbols and signs, when we learn to read ourselves, we can take control of our own vessel and begin to guide it into a space that actually equals our experience, getting more expanded and more alive with us realizing what we truly are. And just as we can choose a direction to expand, we can also choose a direction of contract. Literally, this word means to get smaller. This word means to pull back. This word even means at times what is within, something that is taking place in a secret place. So today we must talk about the universe's greatest contract and what is happening on the physical plane right now, and also the spiritual plane, which are entwined. And that this in itself will be the prelude to my personal next phase and advent into this world, which will not only be to bring true spirituality, which is the study of spirits, but to bring true spirituality back into this space or forward into this space, and to bring the technologies, which is anything external to us, even the body is a technology, to bring the technologies that are necessary in order to allow this planet and these beings, this tribe, humanity, to see beyond a shadow of a doubt, which is a real being, to see truly that there is another world here overlaying ours. And that there is not only something going on, we know this something, we know it. We knew it, our ancestors knew it. And there's been so much intention to keep this information away from you. And the efforts that take place are not done just through your digital technologies and just through your keeping you from watching certain videos on YouTube. Your efforts are all around you, invisible. Entities that have been sworn and have oaths to at every single moment when you slip off of your balance, to then place you in a state of consciousness in which you are distorted, in which you find no rest, you find no fulfillment. And with this knowledge, with this wisdom, knowledge is wisdom when you apply it. With this wisdom, you can surmount anything. So before I go forward, because that speech there was for me, and all is self, so it was for you. I don't even know if you were listening to it because I didn't even do a sound test. So I guess based on what I'm reading right now, some people have heard what I'm saying. But I also want to say that I'm not here to get likes and views and money. If I wanted that, man, I would have stayed doing what I was doing 10 years ago. I was getting all the likes. I was getting all the views All of the money, everything that you can think about. Every single day I was tied down to this machine in that vicious cycle. You know, there's a cycle that runs through Atlanta. And it goes all the way up to the other pyramids up in Vegas. All the way down into the bayou. There's a circuit, and right now, that circuit is just being used for All-Star Weekend, BET Awards, Super Bowl. That's all that circuit is being used for. And that was the power, that was the walk, that was the course as we all as nomads walk together. I didn't even know my camera was on. I actually thought this screen right here was on. Let me see right here. I thought this screen was on. And you know, and coming into this message, it was so much. There was so much knowledge that our ancestors were telling me, and there was archons talking, and every single being wanted to have their say in what was to be transmitted in this message. And I just was waiting. I was being patient. Especially since the trump cards were being played on the 1st of April where the jokers were coming out. You know, nobody peeped it. The jokers came out. The jacks were played. Some of them played themselves. And in this process, because, man, you know, I told you I'm born in it. I'm not sworn in it. Like I'm living in an alchemical vessel, and so are you. You are the tree of life. But someone's eating your fruit. Someone's even eating at the tree. Have you ever watched trees? You know, watch yourself. You can watch what goes on. The birds are up there. The insects are down there. You know, fire is coming. And you got to be resilient, and you got to hold that pole. You have to hold that post. Because if you wither, if you break, there ain't going to be no more seeds from your unique tree. And that's why this all was an agreement. And I'm going to show you, because I've argued with it over the years. How the hell did I agree to be in this? People say, well, I didn't agree to anything. No, that's all part of the matrix and it trying to convince you. No, you agreed. You agree at every single moment. You agree through your resonance and through what you do. And it's only unfortunate that you have so many around you that you cannot see, suggesting to you in English, in your mind, what you should be doing. And because you could be unstable on these waters, getting thrown from pillar to post with your small sails, not having your own current, your own motors, and your own motivation. So then you borrow a vessel. I'm going to show you how many of the beings that are around the body are around because they're trying to borrow vessels. They're borrowing your vessel. And you will repeat that same cycle unless you take these old bones and you raise them. And the reason why it's an agreement is because your parents were trying to do this. Your parents were trying. Grandma was trying to do it. Grandma was trying to do this. No matter what stage they were in, if they just had like the reptilian claw only to do it with and the big ass brain, and they were doing it. If they were in the corner as just an amoeba, just kind of moving around a space, then they were doing it. Now I'm going to show you what it is.
There are unknown forces that don't want us to realize what we are truly capable of. They don't want us to know the things we suspect are extraordinary about ourselves are real. I believe that if everyone sees what just a few people become when they wholly embrace their gifts, others will awaken. Belief in oneself is contagious. We give each other permission to be superheroes. We will never awaken otherwise. whoever these people are who don't want us to know the truth, today they lose.
I know what this is. This is the moment we are letting on the universe.
But as we raise in vibration, as individuals do, they see more, they become more, they are more. For those who are not going to become more and bring out the best they can be, it means by joining the consciousness of Universal Creator's mind. When you do this, certain facilities within your body will begin to function better, dreaming in color, precognition, knowing somebody's going to call and they do. All these things are showing you that you're going forward. If these things are not happening, you're going backwards. And that could be from the bad food, from being ignorant enough to take the shots, thinking that the shots can help you, and even the very air we breathe. Now they're putting chemtrails up into it, which contain titanium, barium, and aluminum, and that's bad for your body. So everything on this planet is being worked for bad. But the Creator has said, the planet has said, I want to be good. So for all of those problems, there are solutions. There's ways of cleaning up the chemtrails. There's ways, as I say, of taking out the bad things in the food, cleaning up your water, cleaning up your brain, your mind, and your soul. The thing is, you have to want to, have to be disciplined enough to do those things you know are right if you understand who you are and make this a better place.
That's right, family. Whatever is going on in your life, you need to stake claim now. Today, they lose. All of those external forces that have been keeping you confused, I am going to unveil clearly from your eyes. I'm going to pull the veil or the evil off your eyes. Do you understand what I'm talking about? I told you about the film, the separation that keeps you from seeing the other world. See, when I say I'm going to do it, I mean we're going to do it. Self is going to do it. Cosmos is going to do it. What we are about to experience and what people are already experiencing and beings are already experiencing is whatever you're aligned with, really. Why you may be hypnotized sometimes and why you may not be feeling like it, so you're dizzy a little bit in the world. So you can't see sometimes what's right in front of you. And it's important now that we go into this space of maturity that allows us to connect in a totally different way because we reveal something. We take the cloak off of this. Let's take the cloak off. Let's take this secret scenario going on in the background and let's bring it to the forefront. So just give me 1 minute. I'm going to cue some stuff up. I got to open the gate real quick for the assistants. And then we're going to go ahead and get right into this. Take some deep breaths. All right, family. So I'm smack dab in the middle of the portal transfer also. I'm literally moving. That's why a lot of the stuff you don't even see in the background or foreground or whatever. And it's just, it's amazing to be at this point to see this type of alignment. Like I was trying to come in yesterday, the day before, the day before, the day before. All sorts of stuff was actually happening. And man, I was like, wow, this message is so powerful at every single moment. It was just sitting with me and it was like, get ready because the people are going to go into a whole nother stage. And then I happened to catch that last clip of that film that I just played the soundbite from. And I was like, man, this is on and popping. Like, I know we have this. We got this. So let's do some dissecting here, okay? Remember that whole ancient alien thing that they wanted to keep showing everybody all the time. It was like ancient aliens just trending all over the place, right? Now, I just want you to get in your mind right away that we're dealing with time travelers, okay? You can do it. I can do it. You do it in your dream. You move all over the space, okay? Like you're in other spaces that are not even called time. Okay, like they think like time traveler. Okay, so your only thing you can travel around is time. Can you travel through something else? You are also traveling through other things. But let's just talk about time travel, because time is a creation, and when someone creates something and they know how to move around it, then they can be called time travelers. Okay, so I will also say to you, please, at this point, if you're looking for who did it like an owl, so you can go and kill them, I suggest you desist. There's enough of that trying to happen for thousands and thousands of years, and it's all a trick in the game. You cannot die, so you cannot kill anything. Okay? So you're not going to find anybody to blame then, because blame is less than killing. Okay? So you're not going to find anyone to blame because there's been a lot of mixing. So when you go try to find whoever to blame, you're going to end up just finding yourself. You're going to find Darth Vader. You see what it means? That what happens is that, see all of these ropes and spirals? Let me show you something else. Did you see recently how they kept saying, oh, it's a black hole. We found a black hole. And it's just important to tell you about black holes in Nipsey Hussle, okay? So for occultists, the understandings of the meanings between these things are not about if somebody is trying to program your reality, but if someone is actually working on the right clock, meaning that there is a God of time who I'm going to explain today, and there's a God of what you call money. And the divvying between these two gods so they would stop fighting with each other all the time was that. One controls the time, the other controls the money. Now give me a minute. So what you're looking for here is you're looking for any kind of spiral, which is a symbol in itself of a vortex or a black hole. Okay? So let me sort this by size really briefly here. And again, this is a small taste because I got to get off this thing in about 45 minutes, maybe less. This is a small taste of what is going to be revealed, but all of it is going to be out today. Like it's going to be very clear to you what's going on. I just want you to see very briefly, and there's so few accurate images these days. When you go back to the old images, what you actually get is Quetzalcoatl showing a spiral actually inside of his hand. Okay? And also with the Mayan clock, which we're going to come back to here in just a moment. But with the Mayan clock, I just want you to remember, I want blown up images of this stuff. I want you to remember just that this particular culture, right, which is actually one of the freshest cultures. The unfortunate part is that we haven't been able to connect this culture to Kemet in our open studies. Like people haven't been able to really disclose the Olmec Maya, and they being the transition point between Kemet and actually Atlan, which is what we would even call Atlanta today, which we even call black folks and Mexicans today. What we are seeing as an archaic relationship between what we can say are two brothers, okay, just like they're showing you right here. A relationship between two brothers in a massive kingdom that was already working with the old system and the old structure. The old system and the old structure is pyramidal, okay? It's like saying 3 before you get to the 4. And in this pyramidal structure, there's this constant competition with who's going to be on top. It's like WWF, right? Some of these cats are running around here thinking it's WWF in the spiritual world. On YouTube, they think that Sa Neter versus Brother Sanchez is what we're all really looking for in our spiritual progression. That another battle like kids fighting is what we want to do. I'm going to show you all today that all of this is a part of these entities continuously keeping up the confusion. Because that is for dumb beings, okay, that can't do anything smart because they're distorted. They screwed it up already, right? So the only command they can take is one fucking command. You can't give them a billion commands, right? They're not smart. You give them one command, divide. Whatever you do cause division, cause dissension, okay? Why? Because it brings about a certain kind of energy that we're all familiar with. It starts with this thing called jealousy, which is a hook. Every J is a hook, okay? You can get hooked to it. So the jealousy and the competition is actually pushed off in the world. That's why we got games, the red and blue, everything. We know about this already. But what we're not seeing is that there's so much of this going on, the division is weakening us. Because after all, as a Titan, if you want to make a soul weak, if you want to even make a reptilian soul weak, if you want to even make a corn grain weak, you just keep dividing them, interbreeding, dividing and dividing and dividing. And then after a while, what you end up with is like a mini me. That's what I was saying. Like it could only be at a fraction of its power. So while you're having such a hard time dealing with certain energies and entities, etc., what has been learned in the great schools of practice and progression is that you must dilute poison. See, so the masters weren't looking at the snake like, oh my goodness, run from the snake's a problem. They were like, once we dilute the poison, I'm sure it'll be a cure. Not to mention, I'm going to see how strong the poison can really be, because if there's something that's out there that hasn't been explored and experienced, well, we need to know then. And then everybody else was like, exactly. And there were elders with you and all sorts of beings that were like, we're going to get through this. And that's where we're at right now. See, 10 years ago when I said, if you don't see the portal, be the portal. Oh man, an ode to knowing what you're saying. Because that was the moment I chose to be the portal. I chose to open up something that I felt wasn't available. I woke up, the veil was rent asunder. I was 2 weeks in the netherworld and all over the place in Atlantis. And from that came this strong compassion to give this message and to teach this knowledge and to decode this language for everyone, for all of us. And that's where I'm at right now. And when I sent that projection, it was like I opened up a space in time. This is how it really works, because I was strong with it. Just like when I was a little kid and I was told you can ask God for anything, man, whatever I asked, because my faith was unshatterable. It was like I believed what they were saying. Totally. I'm subscribed. I got out of the car. It was like once I found out, I ran upstairs to deliver one of the most devoutest projections to self that there will ever be. And then when just recently, 10 years ago, I got hit with a Mack truck and wrecked my entire life. At that same point again, I said, with the highest purity to my high self, just, man, let me know the truth. I've had times in my life, long stints, like a year and a half, 2 years, of never watching TV, looking at women, or doing anything in hopes that I would find a way out of here, and still only found certain things. But was like, okay, God, if there's a God up there, look, if you are like into the pure guys and pure beings and all of that kind of stuff, you should take me now, because once I go back out into this world, I'm not sure how long I'm going to be able to hold up these shields. And so I knew always in my heart that this wasn't about whether you were doing what you felt was right or what was wrong. You were being taken along on a journey, that there was no end to this. That's how we created infinite power. Read the Emerald Tablets again. It says, as basically you're seeking wisdom, it basically becomes more vast. People start complaining about that. They're like, well, shit. It seems like the more I know, the more questions I have. That's a fuel. It's a way in which to keep the consciousness continuously moving as like a light in itself, becoming illuminated, if you may. And then us being able to walk through the darkness because it's actually feeling like it's finding something. So it's motivated. Okay? So all of this had a place. So when you see the temples torn down, all that means is symbolic is that like the body, like glass literally, has fallen down. The house of cards, if you may, has fallen down. And each person has to start from scratch, and they start off as a joker. Look at the tarot. They start off as the fool. The joker is the fool. Okay? Down the doors of phi, into division, with the pack on the back that can accomplish anything. So let's break it down and then build it back up again. Now, I need to have another conversation with you. I'm not going to be too heavy on the pictures today because, after all, we have an entire infinity for me to elaborate further on you about the classification of entities, not just Ifrit, not just Jinn, not just Cthulhu, but a slew of other entities that are, many of them are so connected to you, it may be grandma. Grandma. Now, let me explain to you what the real knowledge shows and what the experience confirms, okay? So when you dig deep into the real knowledge, now remember years ago we were on Pierre Sabak, right? Because how I found Pierre Sabak is I didn't take David Icke to actually be the guy generating some of the information that he was producing. It was not congruent with what he was actually, the vein of resonance he was trafficking. Okay, so I said, man, who the hell is this back here? Mainly, who's drawing these pictures? Because there were pictures in a murder. Pierre Sabak's book is The Murder of Reality. David Icke had just recently come out with his newest book. I can't remember what it was, but anyway, he had an illustrator, and I tracked this guy down because, first of all, to be a Sabak, like people don't even know what these names mean, but I do. So I tracked down a very kind fellow. You know, he was on his thing, but he was like a professor, though. Even his books were written like like a professor of linguistics, more so than an occult adventure, but there was a very strong occult undertone. And I wrestled with these works because what these works attempted to prove is that through the Arabic language, there is a story being told, just like what I said in English. There's a story being told specifically within the language, and the words are designed to give reverence to this specific beings, right? And these beings were known as the sailors, that they came in on the moon. Later on, this comes to you as the Anunnaki, okay? That the chief, one of the chiefs of the Anunnaki had actually set up the Arabic language, and the entire design of it was just to keep calling upon and giving obeisance to this being, right? Now, I had trouble with that because I've actually been on the Sarota Mustaqin. I actually been on the Adin. Not like I've been pumping the head on the ground at certain points too, 5 times. In fact, when I found Christianity, I felt it was a little loose. Like with my relationship with God, I was like, shoot, I'm going all the way. So I read the Quran just to see who was the ones that were not like completely on point, maybe. But this was, again, because I had been involved in Islam earlier in life through my mother. So when I read the Quran, the first pages, when they were starting to talk about giving demons gas to drink, and that they would get lava, and that they would be amongst the losers, I was like, shit, I'm in. This is what I'm talking about. This is 1001 Arabian Nights. We about to kill jinn here. Did you not know we gave them? So when you looked at the poetry and the depth even of the Quran, it gave more of an essence that, hey, this is a spiritual kingdom to become involved in. So let me show you what all this culminates into in the invisible realm, because when you're seeing the suns, that's who you're dealing with, the sun, like the suns, okay? That's, you know, because they're stealing the names, okay? So when you're dealing with the suns, right, you would be only dealing with a portion of what is going on, just literally a portion, because that's all they got. That was their allotment, just a portion of the knowledge. Because you got to go back to their mother. And that's why all genealogies and everything on the planet Earth are always determined by the woman, because you just go back to the mother. The male is not going to give you the data that you're looking for. It's not going to give you the portal. In every sense of the word in the world, it's not going to give you the portal. You got to go to the woman. So I went to the woman. Because it happens that the woman had been following me around all my life and has been following around most men all of their life that are on that pole, that this woman has been following you around, okay? Through attraction. This divine feminine force interacting in different ways with you, trying to get you to be a man, to come and till the garden, to drop some seeds, and really to dip after that. Like, it doesn't really matter, like, because it is a drone-based hive reality. It's like, once you drop the seed, you can move on. We'll raise the kids from here. We're the best at raising the kids. So they're trying to replicate that system now with your current fake matrix. But back in the old days, once the seed was brought forth, the male was seldom brought into play. And I'm talking about during this epoch, the male was seldom brought into play in the matriarch to raise the child. The women took the children from there and began to do what they do. Like the Kwisatz Haderach was what they were always looking for. Meaning literally, the elder women of this tribe, and we're talking about the Sudanese tribe, the czar, the real czars, not the fake ass czars, not TSAR, which is still that same Sumerian club that stole their knowledge. Like the real czar, 3600. Do you know 3600 is a czar? That's one complete turn in the womb. Okay, so we're talking about massive beings, right? So while everybody playing around, let me desist for a minute because I think I need to give everybody a pill. Here's a pill, right? Because everybody keeps asking me, Nipsey Hussle, what is it, Seven? What is it? And I'm like, man, do you think I got time to nip and hustle right now? But I will give you Ashgadam's path, because the reality is that as powerful beings, man, we know the truth, okay? Let me show you real quick. Let me just go into the situation room. I have a file that I call the situation room in which I compile all the data on the anomalies of the planetary system and detail those anomalies on the mainframe in order for me to continuously have them in sight for those neophytes. Because I've gone beyond all this. That's why I was like, man, look, man, do you think I'm going to get distracted right now and the portal is open? Do you think I'm going to get pulled into another false messiahship? Let me show you what the deal is. Okay, so go and look. Now, I don't have anything bad to say to you today about Nipsey Hussle. So if that's what you're looking for, that's not what you're going to get. I don't have anything bad to say anymore about any human beings or any creatures and creeping things, because that's just not what I do. That is not how I work. That is never how I've worked. I am not a hater. I am one who wants to get to the truth. And if someone is holding that back, then I will knock you down. And if I don't, oh man, I got a billion with me. So what this is about us getting to truth. This is not a dumping ground. This is not a shitting ground. This is not a place for you to get your rocks off. This is not a place for you to feel entertained. Okay? You know, people take in the spiritual holy space. That's why YouTube is gone. Like, people don't even study this. I'm in here every single day with ADK, SDKs, APIs. What is that? That's like the integrations into these platforms and what they allow you to use within their code, and then all of their policies and things that are changing. Like, YouTube has some crazy ass policies that just came in just now. Like, they don't even allow, they're going to tell you in just a minute, they're not going to allow you to say thumbs up the videos anymore. They are moving people off into another level of the servers. That's why Mindful app is coming, because we won't have to use YouTube. All beings that are in alignment with total resonance of this message, because there's different dynamics of it, and it's not something that just one person should be covering. They will have a space to put their stuff. That's what I'm working on. So when people are asking, well, where's 7 and what is 7? What do you can make sure of? Just check the change log. I got places on the website that you could check what 7 is doing, because if 7's talking, guess what I'm not doing? I'm not delivering. So then there's no secret energy. People are not even using the resources that we put there, because they were designed in this phase to actually be tested out and baited for finally when all the world, if you may, that is in that resonance, that is ready to come into that level of mindfulness truly, they're just going to come right there. So if you build it, they will come. But this has not been something that we're seeing right now, the traffic and the use of the resources that I've put in because of this marriage that I've had with you. Now the portal's open, though, because my marriage is a little bit over. This term is done. There's a new one opening up. And everybody has the opportunity to do this. Once you go into commitments and you actually really, because this is about you, this is about your integrity. Once you fulfill that commitment, now it's time to come into a new house, a new design. And so I'm going to give you the tools that are necessary to design, but I better speed this up because we only got 30 minutes. So here it is. Nipsey Hussle is a joker. Okay? He died at 33. Now, nobody dies, okay? I do suspect he got initiated, though. I suspect that they brought him right in. Now, I have friends that are not here anymore because they kept questioning back and forth of whether or not they should become Masons, okay? Now, first of all, any person who is wavering in that idea, you're lunch. You're a snack, okay? Because I have a friend personally who he kept wrestling with it. This was back in the resistance days. Man, I should go and join. And I should go and join, man. How do we know? How do we know? I'm like, well, fucking we know. We know. Everything is telling us. Our hearts are telling us. Not to mention these 1,500 books and all these pictures. Something ain't right. We can find it ourselves. But he went and got initiated. Died in a McDonald's bathroom. Okay? Like, as far as him being on this side, he's now a wandering soul, which I'm going to talk to you here about in a minute, because that's what a lot of people are actually dealing with. They're dealing with wandering souls. Okay, so now what happens here is that I do not doubt that Nipsey got initiated because he's hanging around the dog. And you know who I'm talking about. So to imagine that anybody that has a contract in Hollywood is not initiated, the contract is the initiation, whether they're aware of it or not. So what happens is during that initiation, the call is made, and if they take that soul, they take that soul. And that's why he died at 33. Okay? Now let me show you. There's some more jokers running around, okay? Just, while I'm in the joker folder, I have a total disclosure about this. Now I'm just saying that the jokers have this power to where they can pull this trump card, but it doesn't mean that they always end up being able to actually be not played themselves. Now, James is a Jack, is a Joker, is a Jacob. Okay, so I'm very familiar with the Joker's path because you have a trump card. Trump is a Joker. Okay, so what this means is in the house of the cards that you can pull and you can be more powerful than an ace. But you need to make sure that when that ace comes back around that you have a full house. And this is how you would run your hand. Now, that was one of our brothers in the conscious community, Benito Masuro, who's accomplished funding a castle out in the area and is teaching this knowledge. So, saying what's up to the brother, but knowing the brother's a joker. Right? And disclosing the jokers just so the jokers play their cards right. I got a couple jokers that I ain't going to expose because your house will fall. So the reality here is that why are they doing this? Why? Okay, if you know, I've taught you, if you've been listening to me well enough to know that if someone is saying go over here, definitely dip that way. Definitely dip that way and ask questions later. So when they're saying Nipsey Hussle, you should be over here actually looking. Actually, you should be here. If they're saying out there, it's here. Okay? Because right now, they're just trying to sell you another Christ myth. Right during the portal transfer. So you can send your energy outside. Nipsey Hussle's a 2019 version of Jesus, basically. This is what, based on in the programs that they're running, this is what looks like the Messiah to a large part of the community. Okay, everybody can bear witness on that, right? I haven't looked too much in it, but I keep seeing this phenomenon. It's like a Mandela effect. It's like what they did with XXX. This guy was a terrorizer. He was shooting videos with himself being hung in front of children and all sorts of stuff. But then all of a sudden, he's a Messiah now. You see what I mean? So this is how you keep getting played because the jinn and many other entities, even the entities from the Enochian system, are all running around and they're all in the mix right now because the portal's about to transfer. And like I said, just like they talk about in Halloween, well, the film to the dimensions is thinnest. Just like they talk about at midnight or at 3 a.m, well, the film on the dimension is thinnest. You need to watch some of this shit. Understand what they're saying. They're saying that there's also a bigger version. Hello. People are wondering where they've been. Is it going to be earthquake? Is it going to be? No, it's going to be the spirits. The ones that you've been working with that you didn't know, they're going to become more clear to you. You're going to wake up sometimes and hopefully you see nothing but just beatitudes. I'll put that projection. You see your chakras spinning open and giving you all the concave tools that are needed to carve your own reality. out of the aether. But some, of course, will be seeing some horror beings because that's what they've been playing around with. So let's keep going forward. Man, progressing through this slick sludge, geez, when you start off at this point, this is the netherworld I'm explaining to you. Even getting through this is slow. This is a real thing. This is a bark. We are traveling and we are working to get through this space. All right, let me go to 7:30 over here on my time, 7:45. I got somebody coming at 8. So what I'm trying to explain to you and what I'm going to get across here is that now let me explain to you about what was going on, the spirits. I'm first going to talk to you about very briefly the first class of spirits. The first class of spirits of disincarnation are actually your closest relatives. It could be uncle, it could be grandma, great-grandma, great-great-great-grandma. I think you could go back at least 7 generations. Well, maybe not. You could go back at least 3 generations, 4 generations, 5 generations, 6. Yeah, you can go about 7 generations back before you get something that you do not recognize. It's on a whole different framework. You wouldn't even recognize grandma. Like, grandma, is that you? So in this particular spectrum that we're in, this stratum that we're actually in, when spirits depart from here, and this is deep knowledge, I'm trying to make this very clear for you. You need to understand that when you depart from here, if you have any regrets, okay, if you have any doubts, things that you actually still wanted to do or fulfill, if you have any guilt, okay, any judgments, okay, all this makes you heavy. It basically makes you fat, okay, if you want to look at it this way. And this doesn't allow you to get down this narrow tunnel that's actually in the center of your brain, which I was talking about before. But the reality is that when you don't go, because there is no death, you kind of remain somewhere. And you can say this is your memories entangled with other people's memories, okay? And that starts to create a space because it actually is energy. It's done by a real being that knows how to project. And so instead of going into the next stage of things, some say that's the light, right? But instead of going into that and saying, you know what, I'm good. Because many people, when they see that, they're like, fuck, it's hell. It's hell. I can't go to hell. I'm never going to see my kids again. I'm never going to be. And because they're always looking back, because they're not projectors. They weren't leaders. They were always in regret. They made this reality make them believe they were making mistakes. When they were born into this sin, they were acting like it was theirs, like the sin, which is the flesh and the beast body. They were acting like the body was theirs. The body is not yours. That's why they say you're not the body. You're just taking care of this. You should lease it and use it very well. Maybe you'll get another one that's even more pristine. But the reality is this is not you. So that's the process. The person actually gets into a life, and either through habits, some people know how to break addictions. Some people don't have addictions. And some people are very, very prone to addictions. But when we say addictions, most people think that's just drugs. Some people are addicted to love. You're addicted to love. So then hate's going to come in, right? Because that's what comes next, right? There's no yin without a yang. All right? So what this is really about is this is about, if you don't realize this projection in this illusionary sphere and the whole purpose of why you got into this vehicle in the first place, you become a lost soul. You actually, instead of progressing to the next stage, hang around, kind of disincarnate, running around your memories. And because you are now disincarnate, meaning you don't have a physical body, your memories are actually housed in other beings that you had a connection with, that you created with, that you made a contract with, that you had communion with, whether that's your daughter, whether that's your son, whether it's even your companies, your writings, all these different things that you had a communion with. That's what you're living through. So let's just talk about the physical beings, though, because when that's your family members, we're all family, that kind of gives everybody the divine right to do this. What would happen is that you can literally jump on to the next person as a spiritual being. And I just want to make this very clear before we move a couple layers up here. So meaning that if you want to, when you're on that disincarnated world, because you didn't want to progress on, connect with family, connect in unity, you thought you were going to miss out on the drinking and the clubbing and the partying. Remember, some people are more addicted than you, okay? So I'm like, man, you mean no more 12, shout? I'm going back in. I'm sure I can make something in there, okay? So when they do that, when they come back in, They just possess people. So when they want to drink, they find somebody else at the club that has got themselves open and resonating this vibration, and they go right into them. And so you can imagine what it looks like on the back end. This is what I was trying to explain to people, but I only can use English, unfortunately. And when I do it in meditation, some people say they see me on the other side. But basically it equals where hospitals, graveyards, clubs, stadiums, and all these places have so many spirits running around. And I'm not on the big boys yet. In the demigod, Gog Magog, Medellin. I'm not on to them yet. I'm just talking about Poogie. I'm talking about Juan. I'm talking about Shaquita. I'm talking about Umbute. I'm talking about them, okay? Because we missed that. We really missed that in spirituality. You got all these people talk about all this other stuff, but they're not telling you your ideas in your mind are actually coming from the ancestors that didn't, at minimum, are coming from the ancestors that didn't pass on. And when they have bad habits, like, see, great-great-granddad, if he didn't make it, because now you're going through a process, okay, from coal to diamond, okay? So that means that everybody started off with something that they needed to polish. But when you got great-great-great-granddad still wanting to pimp inside of you, you got great-grandmother still wanting to hofriat, which is basically to prostitute virgins off to jinn. Okay? When you still have them hanging around, this leads to suggestions to where you need a little bit of assistance sometimes driving your ship. Meaning that after a while you get shipwrecked. This is what happens when you create too many marriages, too many relationships. You got one ancestor, they want to drink, but the other one wants to be a vegan. What's going to happen? Either way, you're going to piss one off. And that's what most people's minds are like. They have so many spirits that they're dealing with. No matter what they do, they can't seem to do their best. Have you ever felt like that? Soon as you do something, something's already back. Oh, you should have treated them like that. Then the spirit's like, what do you mean you should have treated? Look what they did. You are a weakling. I'm not weak. I'm compassionate. Now you see where this whole schizophrenia, bipolar thing actually comes from? It's not just the spirits. It's even you rebuttaling the spirits as the prophet in your own body. Like, no, that's not what's happening. I'm telling you, we keep in balance. Okay, that last night I wasn't keeping balance. We went in, but you see, so all of that though, time draws nigh. Because that was their duty. Their duty was to distract. Distraction. It's like your wheel doesn't catch the road. Your motivation doesn't work. Like you're slipping. Hey man, child, you slipped. So you let so much time go by in the back and forth. But Raiders are 49ers, my nigga. Raiders are 49ers. You went back and forth. Mustang and Camaro, my guy. Shelby or Camaro. Okay? Kobe or Jordan. Okay? You went back and forth so much, Biggie or Tupac, which one, that you didn't know that the Time Lords, the ones that I was pointing out, right? Why they always play around with clocks so much? Like, why is everything about clocks? I'm telling you, it's 60 and 100. Now, some of this stuff is just going to be encoded, okay? I'll break it down later. 60, that's your time, right? 60 seconds. And then the other one is 100 or 50. More like 50, because 50 always loves to double himself. Like, I'm 100. And he can hold that because it's in that same procession. But I'm talking about 50 and 60. I'm talking about 5 and 6. Okay? 50, and those numbers, the denominators of 10, the denominators of 5 is all about money. Okay? That's why you don't even see $2 bills anymore. You don't see $3 bills. You don't see $4 bills, right? You see 5, 10, 15, 20, and then in those increments, right? Because that's the Lord of the money. That's the moon. That's what I was saying, the moon, money, fertility, right? And then you got 60. Some would say the greater God to rule the day and the lesser God to rule the night, but the God that wrote that book was the God from the sun. So he was like, yeah, he's lesser. But let me show you these gods. what I'm looking for is I'm looking for an image, and maybe somebody can just source it on the internet, because I'm not going to spend all day looking for this. Do you see here? Actually, I have one here. So this will, you can go look for the other one. Okay, you see this? So the sun does this and the moon does this. Okay? And over a period. And what it creates is this number 8, which is our infinity, 88. Okay? The gate. So in this process, this is the deepest knowledge, because one rules the day and the other rules the night. And they draw out these infinity signs. Okay? And in this procession, literally, you get to these crossing points where one becomes basically a worshiper of the day, and then the other one becomes the worshiper of the night. And this is the interchanging that's going on in the human body. Even when you're asleep versus you're in the day right now, you got to spend half of the day here, and then you're going to go spend half of the day at night. Let's say at the end of the lifetime, that's what the balance is to make sure that you spend as much as in the time in the day as you did in the night. And in this part of the consciousness, I'm telling you, all of this system is designed now, first of all, to teach you. This is a very big lesson. The universe, I had to tip my hat to that. The university is cold. Like, I was like, man, I can only take notes, literally. So the reality is, though, is that why this is happening, though, you got to realize this is also exhibited in nature. When seeds are about to become, basically eggs are about to hatch, like turtles' eggs. And then you get all these birds of prey. And this is what I'm showing you is happening right now. It's happening on the spiritual plane. You get all these birds of prey that are actually trying to eat you now. Okay? This is a real thing. And how they're trying to eat you is by throwing you into conflict and to basically destroy you. It's not even going to be just you fell out with Quita again and you fell out with Tom. It ain't going to be just that. It's going to be that it's going to be over. As you keep using the divorce energy, divor, okay, if you keep using the division energy, if you keep warring and dueling, right, they're going to eat you alive, because that's how they live. That is what they do. And that's why I say they always cause confusion. That's why you can't even have a marriage. You can't have a relationship when you have a spirit in your life. Spirits are making decisions that you should be making. You're listening to them. What should I do? All back there, tucked up. You ever seen them get into somebody's mind? Really, he's all back there. You know, especially when it's about something, somebody says something about you. Somebody says something about you. How somebody know you and they don't even know themselves and you don't know who you are? I always say that, but think about it. So who are they really talking about? Themselves. You're playing with yourself, right? So the reality is here is that the division component, I'm not into it personally. This portal transfer is, this lesson, first of all, of 10 years was to teach me that. Okay? Like I learned something, hopefully you learned something. Okay? Now that I don't have division and divisive forces in me and things talking to me that I don't know who they are specifically, that means that I can only continuously do what I've always been doing, continuously expanding, going up, learning more, loving more, having more compassion, being greater. That's all I've been doing. But don't be surprised if you start seeing a lot more jealousy, because that's why it says, I put enmity between them. I put enmity between them. This means that I will put opposition between these brothers and sisters, right? Oh, my brother, man, you ain't no brother, fighting and cursing and arguing and killing and stealing. And you see what I mean? Because that's what's happening on the spiritual plane with your daggers and your words. Right? You ain't no sister. If you're over there backbiting, digging up the seeds, aborting the wombs, you ain't no sister, not of mine. So what we're inviting everyone to in this next stage, if they can resonate, if they can make the transfer, is a much more proficient line of progression for us continuously as we narrow out things. And actually really do decrease our footprints and start to get ready to make this passage in Exodus, because the Exodus is only a reference to our process out of the womb. The 40 days is the gestation cycle. You were in the water. Oh my goodness. Getting manna down a tube. Oh, thank you, whoever you are. And then you gestated out the mouth of the serpent. And now here you are on its face. That's why they call it the surface. The surface. You're on the serpent's face. And his eyes are the wormholes. And they tell you the black holes, the wormholes and the black holes, one going up, one going down, they're opening. Right now, as we go into this full moon, it's happening right now. Even here in the country, they got the Semana Santa. This is the time that the Catholics took over because they know it's a progression. It's the progression of Mary. Go into other countries. They got the same thing going on. But what are you doing? Watching Nipsey Hussle? Man, wake up, man. Let me go through this really fast. They're driving wedges, okay? And you can do it too. The division drives wedges. That's why they show you they got the thing in their hand. And in that hand, you see them even with the pine cone. Like some of these pictures are even new. This cult, they're time travelers. They're using CERN as a time machine so they can keep updating this stuff. And every time you come back, you can come back next week and the pine cone will be missing, my guy. Know who you're dealing with. That's why they tell you we're time lords. We do time. 60, 120, shamash. This is what they're about. And they got everybody in this projection. And where's everybody at? On this tree, getting twisted and turned and whirled, right? That's what's creating the cornucopic field that's around you. It's spinning. Right? And then here you are with all these entities that are around you that are your family on this tree. But then you have these watchers, these other beings that intersect vertically into your space. And that's what I'm saying. Stop worshiping these beings. Stop worshiping. You're not getting anything. Worship, fight. That's what that means. Worship. These beings are real. Hey, like I say, it's like, well, Tevin, why are you telling us this? I'm telling you because this is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing divisive forces coming to the minds of people that you think love you and convincing them to do edgewise. And it hurts. It drives a wedge between you and them, and it creates a film. And that's only the beginning because this is not the first time they've done this. They've done this to billions of us. Trillions of us have been through this, and it's over. That's why I say today it stops, and you are the ripple effect. When you decide not to hate, when you decide to turn that energy back around. Next time somebody asks you, man, what do you think about blah, blah, blah? Say, man, ask them. Turn that shit around right away. Do not allow people to get you in the cahoots of making judgments. Who are you? Why do you want to be the balanced scale? Be the balance. So anyway, what do I want to tell you? So many of your ancestors married off their seeds to spirits. Okay, now we got to go deeper. Okay, I'm not talking about your uncle. They're all part of it. They're part of the property. Just like the military contract says, they own your children. They own everything you produce once you actually make that contract. Okay? So to nullify, we'll talk about that later. Or maybe we won't. Like maybe you need to seek internally how to actually get your own divorce from some of these forces that you've been aligning with, these war forces, right? Because this is the war that is taking place in the division of the stars. Okay, this is like, oh, he's on my team and she's on my team, and and they're on my team. That's what created these religions. That's what created these things that are causing so much confusion between us. They've all now chose to take their own allotments. These people belong to me. This belongs to me. Right? So this is why this is real, man. You got to go with compassion. That's going to be your only compass to Zion. You can't even move with love. Hate comes back. You got to move with compassion. You got to be like, What's the individual record on this person? Hold on. Like scales. Ancestors drop scales. Well, it looks like last time they go, okay, great. Okay. All right. Anyway, where are you at? Meaning actually do a thorough estimate of the people that you're involved in and the actions that are taking place in that relationship that you're in with them, and start weighing their asses. Literally start weighing them and see if they're too heavy to actually fit into that next stage that you're going into, because if they're not, you're going to get left behind because you're going to be holding them back. This is a real conversation. You're going to be holding them back and you're going to be holding yourself back. Okay, that kind of came out weird, but serious. Like, if you don't let them go, how can they progress? That's a real thing. Like, look how the knowledge just turns itself on itself. It's like, no, you're holding them back. You think that they're holding you back, but you're holding them back. See, like when you come into truth and come into the higher stages, that it's there, it's available for you. It's always been aware. Do you think this stupidity created this? No. Do you think that they were the part of the highest thing? No, they're all learning their lessons too. Many of them are sorry. You see what I mean? Stop trying to figure out what to do. Sore and sar are the same word. Sore. Ah, it hurts, pain. Sir, yes, sir. Oh, I'm gonna bow down to you, snake. Oh, yes, lower body. Oh, yeah. How do you have your foot in your mouth? How do you have your foot in your brain? It's by letting the forces that should be driving you to the next stage actually control where you're going. Meaning that that's your feet. You got them in your mind. People got division. They got their feet in their minds. They're inverted, right? They always wonder, was he bad or is he good? What are you getting? Like, what is this benefiting you? Do you have something applicable to go with? Like every single day we bring value into this reality. It's our pleasure. And we are low on dissension, meaning that I do my best to keep every single thing weave together perfectly in this tribe, to let our fabric be a blanket for others. So to come and cut that blanket and to think it is your right. For us all to think it is our right to cut the fabric of our mother, to C-set our own mother. How dare you? Check yourself. Do you not know how many different beings are in there? They're watching everywhere. It's like TV, this TV thing didn't start here. That's why they say eyeballs. You go into the world like, shit, eyeballs are everywhere. I don't feel comfortable. Who do all these eyeballs belong to? Where are the bodies behind these eyeballs? Be like, that was the whole thing. The bodies are kind of part of something else. We're all just eyeballs. Just orbs, son. You know, it's like, okay, so no bodies? No, nothing to judge by. Except for this depth of my soul. Look here. Look here and see the depth of your soul. Okay? Come out of that funky program you're in. You can't get on here, talk what you want to say, and be who you want to be. If you can't do that on here, go find somewhere else. Create your own thing. Be there by yourself then. You don't have to follow anybody. You see, that's what this is really about. I've been teaching this for 10 years, and now this is no longer exercise anymore. This is real world. We will go on to greater and more expanded things. Doubt it not. I am infinity and beyond, and you are too. But there are some decisions that people need to make, because every single day they are supping and they are feeding a force that is destroying us and tearing us down. So the courses that you make continuously, right? That's what a course is. You should be learning something, right? Or else the courses become curses. Same word. This means that after a while you become vexed by the continuous. If I get on here every single day and talk about the same thing, it'll vex me. It'll lock me in time. So if I'm always talking about the same person or the same topic or the same thing, I'm vexed. You see what I mean? Convex. So also just remember about these entities. So what happened is that many of the parents, and I got 10 more minutes here, being involved in the black magic and all the different magical systems, messing around with the jinn and the stars, which is tarot, Kemet. Again, this is not a good or bad thing. It's just everybody doesn't know how to do good magic. Basically not. It's just like right now, you give somebody something and they do give somebody something powerful and they can do what they want to with it. But if they're ignorant, then that's what you get. You give an ignorant person a YouTube channel, that's what you get. YouTube is a lot of power. Like it's a lot of power to sit here right now and to deliver these messages to the beings that are listening to them. So I've taken that power and I've used it responsibly. Right? When we have all these souls that are listening to us and the ripple effects that are going to be happening from that. Making a decision also to make sure that you're aware of that and you stay in control of your own harbors. I don't care what you're on. Like basically sit in the seat of your own soul. If you got dragons you're working with, which are drugs, and you're trying to fly them off into another space too with you, at least be able to control your stuff. And if you're not controlled, then the demon's controlling you. And I will tell you that directly. If you don't have control when you're on substances, the demons are controlling you. Okay? I just want to stop for a moment to let everybody know. If you lose control, the spirits are controlling you. So at that stage, you go into trance. And some people are still in trance. And that's why this world is so illusionary. Deeper knowledge shows that when a person goes into trance, they actually see through the eyes of the spirit that's possessing them. And they see through the eyes of all the other beings that spirit has possessed. But then when they come out of trance, most of the time, they cannot remember what went on in that trance. Okay? And even in these deeper cultures, again, I don't want to get out of good and bad. In the whole Friati tradition, many of those women could see not only while in trance, but when they came out of trance, they remember what they saw. So there were powerful matriarchal queens who saw all this. They saw everything. They could see through the eyes of Europeans thousands of years in the future. They could see, they're showing you, even in the book that I told everybody to read, she even says they were looking right into Canada and being a woman there at the bar, drinking, laughing. Do you see that kind of level of power? Meaning that this woman in control of her spirit and going into the universe's power of knowledge is literally putting herself in trance, then getting possessed by a specific being. They know these beings specifically because if you get possessed by the wrong being, you go into disease right away. You get sick. You can't get rid of it. The contract goes bad, right? Or the energy goes down. So this ain't nothing you play with. But these were ancestors for these people. They knew who these spirits were. And so when they would get entranced by that spirit, then they could see through that spirit's eyes and they could see everything. And they could see into the future as far as the spirit could see. And as many beings the spirit had aligned with, they could see. So they were seeing again into Canada. And then they were even telling the lady that was there, wow, you guys don't wear a lot of clothes. Wow. Wow, like, look at how your mind is. Like, you got things kind of like crazy and wrong. Wow, too much pleasure. Wow, totally non-grip. Wow, there's another entity around you. Wow, you guys are lost. Wow, you don't know about Zayran. Wow, let me get out of here. Literally meaning that the details in the documentations that I've been running across about the availability and knowledge of our ancestors giving this knowledge to us about spirits. And what are we studying? We're probably studying most of the time what the Masons put there for everybody to study. You see what I mean? Like, spirits is what we need to know. We need to know about what's invisible because these things, just like they show you on the movie Glass, right? Remember the beast? What was his power mostly beside the strength? He would jump onto the back of somebody and latch on. I'm not saying go watch the movie, but he would latch onto the back of a person and he will hold them until they died. That is exactly what these entities do. They're interlopers. They plug into the back, right? The moment the person starts resonating all that darkness, which people do it all the time, starting to hate, starting to be jealous, they will drive dissension in a wedge right into your back, right into your chakra, and then come right in through there, right into your mind. They will go right up your steps, kick right down your own door to your own temple, and come in there and cause dissension with you and your family. And you will listen to them, just like they say in They Live. You do it to your own kind. You do it to your own kind. Also, I want to tell you about that word kind because I am kind. Right? This word came to me so deep because something happened. I said, man, this shit happened because I'm too kind. And they said, whoa, Seven, whoa. Check that word out, kind. It literally is to insist that there's only a certain type or a small amount or specific. Like, what kind of clothes are these? Or what kind of knife is this? Could it be that you're just only a certain kind of being and everybody else is not like that? I said, well, damn, shit. It definitely feels like that's what's going on because I've been very kind for the last 10 years with all my time and all my energy and all my power and pushing into this projection. And what I've gotten back yet is, wow, like if I was dependent on that, then it would be a work in progress. And that's what it is. Remember, if I came in here to actually get something for people who needed something, well, damn, that never works out in a business meeting. That never works out in a marketing campaign. It doesn't work out anywhere. If you're coming to people who need healing, don't be looking for healing. Come to give it. But I'm telling you, the portal's closed. A new portal's open. Now we should have taken our medicine. And now we must enjoy now this expansion of this great level of consciousness we've received. We cannot keep going into the lower levels of what Donald Trump is doing. And what Nipsey's is doing, and what Tekashi's and 6ix9ines and all this doing, when we know that all that is summed up into a contract. Right now, once again, in Freemasonry, the contracts then, as you understand it, is between men and jinn. Okay, that's what they took from the Arabs. And these are a specific kind of jinn. Okay, first of all, well, I just got to tell you like it is. You know, for those that are involved, I know some Masons is listening, so here you go. You've been bitched out. You've been getting fucked. That's why they say you've been fucked. Because what happens is that literally even the male circumcision, which was practiced in Kemet, was actually to replicate the circumcision of a woman bleeding. Basically the process of a woman bleeding when she's losing her virginity. To get the male body prepared to be a feminine vessel. And this is why, as Pierre Sabak was writing about, that the Arabs, the sheikhs, which are actually holding big jinn, right? They are jinn in male bodies rather than using the female bodies like they used to, because they used the male and put the jinn inside the male. That's why they are trying to operate. That's why they're wearing these robes like they're women. They're operating like the divine feminine and the spirits inside of them, because they actually play female to the more masculine entity, right? Which are all of the Sumerian gods, big beards and all that shit, right? So this is real, right? And as they play prostitute to the dragon, right? Not all dragons, but to this specific dragon, as they play prostitute to the dragon, they do anything the dragon tells them, because in their society, the only thing that they have in common amongst each other is they all been fucked by the dragon. And I'm just going to say it straight, how it really is. That's literally what's happening. And so in their shame, because the dragon keeps them in shame, that's why the Catholic religion is the dragon also, and set up that way. It keeps everybody in shame and in sin and under sin, which is Nanar, which is the god they worship, known as the moon. It keeps everybody under the Lord, as we talked about. And in that process, you keep getting fucked because you're debased and you are low. You sell out to your own brothers and sisters. You fight, you war. You bring the arts of Tubal Cain into the temple, and you deconstruct what the Most High put together, which is the higher self in all of us collected. So you have been sighted. And this is only the beginning. When the veil drops, all the entities you've been working with, they're going to fall like a house of cards as Solomon takes back the ring. Look at what the story is telling you. Solomon lost the ring. Solomon is the temple. The temple is the tree. We lost the binding roots that keep us together. And that is formulating and growing again. But when Solomon lost the ring, the big demon, Asmo, hurled him empires away. What this literally means is you were thrown into the land of the slaves when you lost control and your parents lost control of this vehicle and this being that we're in. And there were mages underneath you. Some of us are very powerful. So some of us are more on the Solomon side. Some of us are more on the Asmodeus side. Meaning that in this process, it's a process of growth. But some had entities that they could not really keep control of. Let me just explain this very easy. See, all societies that were coming from the old times, okay? The societies from the old times, the pyramidal-based structures, what Thoth had built and what he later on improvised, okay? That system of the pyramidal structure got compromised because of the design. It was something that he decided after a while, it decided this is a bad design because it leaves us vulnerable at this one point, and that point is the top. It's better for everybody to actually know how to lead themselves than to have one leader. If that one leader is compromised, we still move on to the goal. You see what I mean? So there was knowledge that was saying, hey, this is flawed. That's what you see in the football. That's what you see when people really try to draw the flower of life, and they see that often fractions, just by fractions, that crystals are not off. So there were signs of a more perfected kingdom, but some wanted to stay in that distortion. Right? And now we're in that world of distortion, and we must bring that perfection here. So again, this could get into a lot of stuff, and so we just have to close it down and reopen it when we get into the next space. It's very important. There were some clues that were brought forth. I'm telling you that this is very simple. Get clear. It's an adventure. It's going to keep going. I'm going to keep powering myself on the adventure, and everybody else can keep powering themselves on the adventure. It's another fuel source, the aha moment. Aha is the energy. So as we come into more and more awareness, there will be more and more awareness and compassion for what's happening. But as far as the dissension, I won't have it in my midst at all, period. If I have to lock myself behind 7 doors, I will not have dissension in my midst. I will not have beings that are confused about the entities that are around them. Okay? Serious, like, be responsible for that's why Oprah said, be responsible. I'm not quoting Oprah here, but I thought, shit, she said that's her most powerful mantra. What the hell? What is she talking about? She said, I make everybody responsible for the energy they bring to me. What she was saying was she makes everybody responsible for the entities they bring around her because she knows those entities. All of them, they know about this. They are aligned. Either it's Marduk or Enlil. That's all it is for them. It's that linear. Either it's 50 or 60. It's that linear for them. And then for you, they have you mixed up and confused. Also, I say choose none of them. 5 and 6 equals 11, more division. Like I say choose none. I say merge all these forces and make them serve your family, your tribe. Serve unity. Put them back in their place, Solomon. Remember what he said. Solomon used the demons to build the temple. Solomon is not a man. He used the demons to build the temple. That meant that the force of these lower beings were used to construct the lower worlds and the nether worlds, etc., the lower parts of the nether world, the body. But what I wanted to get at is that remember in all this power, because when you see your ancestors and you're like, man, I wonder if they was really back there with the power. They was there with the power. They were welding all these forces. It was an everyday thing for them. And in that process, just like in Thoth, what does Thoth begin his book with? He's telling you he's tired. He's telling you that, man, I need to go back to the dwelling place and actually recharge and then come forward again. But in between that time, you're going to be responsible for dealing with serpent-headed men. Basically, beings, serpent-headed means that you have what's supposed to be low in your head. Put it back down there. I'm not saying kill it, destroy it. Like Dr. Kassar tells you, I would just give them an option. I wouldn't go into killing them. You don't know how many of these things are actually in your body or around you. Give them the opportunity to actually come into service of unity and be demanding about that. And you can only do that when they haven't overrun your camp. So I just want to say wholeness and balanced vibration. If your camp is overrun, that just means that you have division inside of your mind. And if it's going on inside of your mind, then now you know why you're doing it around you and why you're saying things to people and why you're backbiting and doing all that kind of stuff, because it's on you. Now, don't be mad. There's not pretty much any humans here without it that didn't have it. It's all a part of the process, but get it off. Let today be the day that it loses. Let division not be an option, but also be wise. If one chooses not to see the forces that are around them, choose to go through the expanse, because anything that's the truth is going to be there. There's one path down the center of your consciousness. It's symbolic to the umbilical cord. It's in the center of the brain. This is the path that was referred to that on one side there's deep water and on the other side there's fire. That's because that's how the hemispheres of the mind are. Deep water, fire. And that you're to go down this path, and straight and narrow it is. And what that means is that if you're carrying all this baggage, and you're mad and you're pissed off and you're carrying all these dark energies, you can't get down that small passage. You got too much weight. And just like I was told, you're going to wait. You're trying to get light, but you need to get light. Now I know what all that really means. I realized that it all starts in my consciousness, and that's the journey I embarked on. I've done the best that I could ever do to show every single person that I've been in contact with, if it was one person or if it was 1,000. If it was a bum or it was a star, it didn't matter, because it was all tribe, and it always remains tribe for me. But I'm wiser now. And I'm definitely into another passion about disclosing who these spirits are and actually teaching people how to actually, don't email me about your spirits. I first tell you, how do I get rid? No, don't email me with all of that. You know how to get rid of them already. You keep coming with that same damn story. Oh, how do I? No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about disclosure to end these beings being able to live in the darkness. So that way humans that live in the brighter state of their consciousness can start coming up with solutions for these beings. As long as they actually remain hidden, then we can't find any real medicine for them. I do see that they're a part of the universe and they're a part of the cosmos. I see when children are left behind. I see when someone's abused. I've been in those spaces myself, and I see I have a choice to become, right? And that's now just become a choice. Imagine for my great grandfather or maybe for my great grandmother, they didn't even have the choice necessarily in the phase that they were in. It started with choice, but once you get into making choices, now it must run its course. What is that called? It's called a contract, pumpkin head. So we got to watch these contracts and these agreements and these relationships that we're entering, because we're also entering relationships with the person's spirits. Because what the spirits are doing is they're going into marriages with the person. And because the person has already a physical being, like let's say that animal that is a part of the body, that energy essence. And then they also have this spirit that is within them, their true essence that was given to them, the all spark. Now, if you add one more interloper into that, you already got some discomfort in that vehicle. Hey, man, you gonna ride back seat or shit? You can't be up here driving. Are you backseat driving? Yo, shut up back there. But basically, you got to understand what you're harboring, because every place, like I told you, I gave you all the knowledge. Your portals, that's where they're coming in at through your smell. Smell some barbecue. Nibalahi minallah shaitan rajin. Here he comes. Yo, man, you should go get a piece of that. Who is that? Ancestor wants some barbecue. You just got to be that one right there that's like, look, man, we can't keep eating this dark carbon, which is basically oxidated. Like, I'm a chemist. So we can't eat this, but why don't we just sprinkle some of this coconut charcoal on your throat and see what we can do? See, you have to be thought. You see, like, you got to work the realm of thought in order to be able to master the mind. If you're not able to master the mind, then you're in here with Ningdamud and Igigi and all the rest of them that were all confined to the minds. They were banished to the mind. That's what we're talking about. When they send a badass dark villain, where do they send him? In a stasis, into a realm in the mind. That's where we are. And this also is the womb. That's why a woman is deep, because she knows how to navigate this. Like, we got to get these sisters back online. Like, what's happened is that the whole kingdom, you just have to build within yourself and reflect that. But the whole kingdom is laid waste. It's just like you're looking at one of those old stupas. And when we're rebuilding that, we have to start inside. But how can we build anything if someone's taking the bricks out the back? Think about that. How can I build anything when someone is tearing it down over there? Unless this is the proper level of how we need to level things. Like, and that's what you also have to have respect for. If you build something and you need to tear it all down in order to get to the next level, then maybe that's what you need to do. You level that shit out. Don't build on the top of a spire. So all of this is the knowledge. It keeps cycling. It will never stop. It will not stop unless you make it stop by keeping the brakes going on. Judgments, disconnections, those are all the brakes. So I want to say wholeness and balance vibrations to everyone. I definitely see you on the other side if it's resonating. We have taken this and made this real for us. Like, I don't care what's going on outside. I can master my own projections. Like, I know everything they know and beyond. 50 and 60, I got that. That's why it was important, I guess, for me to go through the world this time. I literally became the master of money. You know, that was the earlier life and the serial entrepreneurship and just don't chase money or it really runs. Sneak up on it. And with time, understand that you're a time lord and you actually stand outside of time. And if you get on it, it's like you're on a wheel. So you need to know your clock. And that's why all these ancestors, the deep ones, even the dark ones, they kept a clock with them. And they were always like, well, what time it is? Oh, shit, it's about to be portal open time. I better get myself together. Because then you have the power. Think about what I'm saying. Like, some have said, well, but how am I going to get out of? Notice how maybe after some of these conversations, it's not just the words. The words come behind the real force, okay? Because they're in English. But that force that's coming, right? That force is actually what you're feeling. And that force is saying, hey, let's clear it up. So that's what it is.
I gotta go. Yeah. Just sending love to everybody, sending compassion. Our truck is here, so I'm going to go ahead and get on this journey. And I just wanted to send everybody love. It was really on my heart to get in here today. You know, it was one of those beginning conversations, because you always tell, because it's got like a lot of pieces that are still open. But I also feel like that I brought great closure to this journey, and I'm looking forward for the other side. So wholeness.